Most of us gathered here today do not spend our lives mending fishing nets or fishing in the deep water. We probably have never collected taxes or worked as a tent maker or walked along the shores of Galilee. And yet today in the gospel we see the call of the first disciples happening to other people at another time and in another place. And yet if we listen carefully to what the gospel said into Jesus' life, the call of Jesus was to ordinary people. Ordinary people who had very little education, obviously not a lot of wealth, and not really belonging to the local Galilee country club. They were just incredibly ordinary people. And so when we look at ourselves, when we hear the call of Christ, or we hear that we are to answer the call of the Lord, who are the disciples of today? Who are the bearers of the message that Jesus brings to others? And I think part of the problem in answering that question is that so often we generally do not see what we do outside of this church worthy of God's attention or maybe his interest. We kind of focus just on what happens within these four walls. And yet, who are the people and where does mercy and compassion for the most vulnerable, where is that shown? Especially to the young and to the elderly. That's done by mothers and fathers like you. It's done in homes. It's done in nursing homes, daycares, and in schools. It happens 24/7. Not just 1 hour a week. Or who cares for the sick? It happens in hospitals, by doctors and nurses, stat cares, in the dentist office, and again, many times just in the home. Doesn't happen in here. Or where do we live out the faithfulness of our life as Christians, baptized? We do that in our workplace. We do that in our marriages. We do that in our commitments to one another, our relationships with each other. We do that at the dinner table, and we do it on vacation. You see, God calls us where we are, in the ordinary circumstances of our life. We are all being called. Every single one of us is being called. Every single one of us has a vocation. But it's tempting to ignore the invitation. At the moment, it's easy just to stick our finger in our ears so we don't hear God calling us. Because we may not want to listen to what God has to say to us. Or maybe we'll just talk a little bit louder, so we'll talk above God's, so we can't hear God speaking to us. And then many times, I know in my own life, I would prefer that God would listen to me, rather than me listen to God. So like the first disciples, we may just find that if we do listen, if we are willing to listen, we may find that our lives can be turned upside down. Our goals in life can be changing. We can be living a whole new way of life. But that call is given to each and every one of us right now, right here, wherever we are. And that call will be given to you tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day out there. Can you hear God now?